Ah, victory, finally. It's the better part of 2 days to remove what wasn't probably even involved in my problem. I took a trip last weekend, and about halfway to the place, a couple hundred miles away, I lost power steering in the bus and drove it strong arm style home. Well, the rest of the way there and then home after a camping trip. And turns out I think it was just a hose, but with some play in this cylinder and it being old, I'm just replacing the entire steering system. New U-joints in the shaft coming out of the, I don't know if I can show it to you, the shaft coming out of the steering box, which is actually under here, but you can see that U-joint holder right there, where one end of the U-joint propeller shaft for steering comes from, and they have a lot of slop in it, and actually the shafts, the splines, had some slop in them, so they're getting replaced, as is this entire hydraulic cylinder. It's a little less than $1,000, I think, for a reman one, according to Luke at US Coach. I don't know if that includes these ball joint ends, probably not, but I need those too. This one came out quite easily, just a little banging, and it popped right out. This one, where the pitman arm grabs it on the ball stud there, that actually controls the whole thing, it came out really easy, just barely had to tap it. This guy, oh, let me tell you, I guess the only saving grace is it's this one up here, which is the easiest to get to. And yeah, I beat on it and beat on it. It's still pretty warm, I think. I beat on it for a bunch yesterday. First with a brass hammer and then a 3-pound sledge. I tried a pitman arm puller, stripped that guy there completely out. I heated it with my MAP gas oxygen torch, which is actually on the other side, but there's a couple extra tanks there. Everything I could do. I don't have a pickle fork big enough. I used the air compressor and impact and tried knocking it out that way. Didn't work. After heating it and hitting it and heating it, I was about to give up, and I hit it a few more times with the 3-pound sledge because I really don't have a lot of room in here to swing. Should have probably brought the full-size 8-pound sledge, but I did eventually pop it out. So got access now. My pitman arm one is hanging out back there, and yeah, I think the flex hoses on the steering, the power steering on this side, were original. They look like the ones in the book exactly, and none of the hydraulic shops around me have the longer ends of the supply side. So I'm gonna guess they're the original, and one of them cracked a leak. I don't have them handy, they're already in the car. So tomorrow, let that loud vehicle pass. Tomorrow I will be on the phone with Luke, ordering a cylinder and the rod ends. I'm gonna debate whether or not to swap out these guys. They look like crap, but I greased them and they actually are tight. I don't have any play in them, so they may wait for now. That way I don't have to mess with the alignment, really. I am gonna go ahead and replace the radius rod bushing in there and probably there. The uppers are in better shape. I'm gonna order them, but I may wait. Well, I probably should go ahead and do them, but we'll see. That all may have to wait till after this trip, depending on how hard it is to get this steering stuff back together. Oh, and I think I found my squeak and rattle. I've been hunting and hunting. I took apart the original door assembly where the opener is, but see that? I don't know if it shows up on camera. That's a lot of movement, and it hits the door hinge. So going down the road, it was driving me nuts, and it turns out there are little rubber bushings that hold that to the door, which I don't understand. That's not gonna absorb a whole lot of impact. I don't know why they used rubber bushings. So I'm going to see if Luke has those or can get them. Otherwise, they're going to get replaced with some solid steel spacers so that I never have to listen to that ridiculously annoying rattle and squeak. If we go to the back here, since I drove it a couple 100 miles without power steering fluid, because it was leaking faster than I could fill it, I have gone ahead and pulled the pump. It feels fine spinning it. It's not noisy. I had dumped I dumped a whole quart of Hyperlube in the system when it ran dry, and I noticed it was dry. That's why it's a mess all over here. That is a pain. It's a pain to get up in there and fill that. I had to devise a system of putting it in a quart squirt bottle and bringing that in there to squirt. But I just figure chances are good those vanes, because it's an expanding vane pump, riding on the metal wall with no lubrication is probably royally screwed. And I don't really want another failure going down the road. Steering it without power steering, I am not a fan. So hopefully this isn't too terribly expensive. I'll find out tomorrow when I can call Luke on Monday. It's Sunday on Father's Day today. So I'm going to replace that. And I did read in the manual that is a screen for the pressure side that filters it. There's a cartridge in there. So I'm going to get one of those from Luke as well. And I read that taking that, can't even see it, that bolt right there out lets you take this top off, and there is a cartridge filter in the reservoir. So I am already replacing the pump, all the lines, and the rack. Why not go ahead and put new screens in there? Especially considering that this likely contaminated both of those with metal fragments. So it will have functionally an entire new power steering system, hopefully sometime next week, whenever those parts come in and I have time to do it. So that's a little bit of an update. Otherwise, the bus did really, really well. I am really happy so far. I just now get to clean up and pack up my tools, temporarily put the wheel back on and the little steel cover. The other issue that I discovered when I was tearing everything apart, you can see from this side better where the U-joint attaches over there, and then where the prop shaft would come, and there's a U-joint right at the input to that steering rack, or steering box rather. You can see the pitman at the bottom. See how wet that front is there where the pinion is going into the pitman, or the input shaft. That seal was actually sitting out up against the back of the pinion, or the yoke for the U-joint. It slid right back in by hand, just pushing on it, but it looks trashed. So I'm going to be pulling that off and replacing that seal so that I know it will hold fluid or grease, because the book says it uses a high pressure lithium grease. So that's what I'll put in it. But when I'm rebuilding that prop shaft with U-joints, I will also be replacing that seal. So, note to self, don't forget to order that from Luke.